July Freight and Supply Chain Industry Update. Volatility and uncertainty. These two words are the theme for our greater supply chain field for the last few months and will continue to be going forward. According to a recent Council of Supply Chain report, logistics pre-COVID in 2019 represented a greater percentage of U.S. GDP at 7.9%, which effectively means that a greater percentage of any one item's purchase price is going towards a supply chain cost associated with producing and transporting the item. Determining the causation of this would be quite an analysis, but logic would point towards recent tariffs, as well as the ever-increasing demand for rapid shipping to have pushed this number higher than before. It's unclear how the full year 2020 numbers will fall, but a drop in consumer demand will likely lower the number. More focus on supply chain diversity and resiliency. Price and efficiency are great, however, particularly with the shutdown of factories in China during March, U.S. companies, along with those around the world, found themselves in the tough situation of inventory shortages and simply not able to replenish stock from their suppliers. For global companies like Apple and Mazda, these concerns reach national news. Mazda being an example of a company that took immediate action to avoid a complete shutdown of certain auto factories in Japan and tooled up a factory in near emergency in Mexico to produce certain components. Mazda then airshipped these parts to Japan, all in an effort to keep their Mazda 3 and CX-30 production lines running. There was no expense spared in this situation. Companies that have been in this situation put it in the "we're never going to let this happen again ever" category. This is prompting many brands, both small and large, to consider diversifying their supply chains and supplier management, essentially tabulating supplier risk into their overall supply chain plan, not wanting to have all their eggs in one basket from a supplier perspective. Make no mistake, China will continue to dominate as a top importer for many nations, but brands are looking at other options as well, such as India, Thailand, Vietnam, and Mexico. This will continue to play out over the next few years as companies have a newfound appreciation for supply chain reliability, as they've learned what worked and didn't work during the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. Inventory levels. Just-in-time inventory planning has been the go-to method for keeping working capital levels manageable, improving overall return on invested assets and lowering warehousing cost. However, coronavirus has proven that very low inventory levels might just be too low for certain raw materials, subcomponents used in factories, and even finished products. Accordingly, warehousing demand has already risen, with many large supply chain and logistics firms looking to expand their warehousing offerings. Even Maersk, known firstly as one of the largest ocean carriers, recently spent over $500 million to acquire a warehousing provider to keep up with customer demand for the value-added service. Expect to see continued expansion into warehousing for existing logistics players and warehousing revenues to jump. More tariffs. While most economists would argue that tariffs are inefficient and ultimately pass on the cost to consumers, nearly every day over the last several weeks, new tariff proposals have been discussed from Washington. Now, if these tariffs on both Asian and European products will be implemented, or what they will be in their final form, who knows? What we do know is that any companies that imports these items will be keeping a very close eye on this situation, as a 20 to 25% tariff can easily turn a healthy, profitable product into a money-losing affair. Capacity and rates. As we said before, volatility is high, with some origin-destination pairs seeing volumes rise and have little capacity to spare, which is sending rates higher than previously expected on many lanes. However, on other lanes, there are still more trucks than there are loads available, which is keeping rates depressed. Ocean rates on some lanes have climbed, particularly on Trans-Pacific lanes, as carriers have blanked sailings, which pushes rates higher than they were in April or May. Air freight also increased slightly from the horrendous 25% drop in April year over year. Amazingly, in April, even with these volume declines, capacity dropped by 41%, sending air rates higher, and passenger carriers started converting some passenger planes to carry limited amounts of critical cargo. Railroads have been hit hard by the drop in auto traffic due to the large auto brands halting production. Coal, general freight, and intermodal have experienced drastic drops in volume as well. Railroad pricing doesn't fluctuate as quickly as trucking pricing does, therefore intermodal rates really haven't changed a meaningful amount. In an AAR report released July 1, rail carriers were optimistic that volumes would slowly rise, and were glad that automotive traffic, as well as intermodal, were slowly starting to climb again. It's anyone's guess as to how quickly volumes will return to normal, but likely it will be into the latter part of the third or perhaps the fourth quarter before rail volumes really recover. Record COVID cases. Nearly every day in the last few weeks, the U.S. has been setting record numbers of new cases of COVID-19. Many are predicting this number will continue to rise as many states, particularly in the Southeast and California, are experiencing rapid spread of the virus. Some states are considering a second potential shutdown to curb the spread of the virus. So what does this mean for supply chains? Coronavirus is the major wild card. One possibility is that transportation demand stops recovering as businesses partially close again. Or another possibility could be that this new wave of COVID is thwarted somewhat by states and local governments imposing stricter measures regarding the reopening of businesses and pushing for the widespread use of face masks. It's very possible that record numbers will continue to be reported through August, which would prevent freight volumes from continuing to increase and push a full volume recovery even further off. Look for more supply chain and freight market updates coming from Zmodal over the coming months. New videos coming along from Zmodal very soon.